Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and in this video I am doing my gaming wrap-up, which is basically I'm telling you what games I beat, what games I'm playing, and what games that I want to play in the future. This covers the month of mid-November, December, and January. So it's basically also wrapping up the year of 2024 going into 2025. During this time, I beat a total of 4 games. So with this wrap-up and my other ones, this makes a total of 15 games that I beat in 2024, which is really good. To me, I could have done better, but I'm happy with the games that I did pick up and I did play. Now for 2025, I'm not really going to put a goal number. That really gets me stressed out. So whatever games I beat in 2025, hopefully I could get over 15, but if not, then perfectly fine. Oh, and let me know how many games you beat in the comments down below. Alrighty, before we move on to the list, if you end up loving this video, then please hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, then please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, total of 4, so there's a lot to cover because I did complete a lot of great games and I have a lot to say about them. The first one being The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So this game was provided to me by Nintendo, so thank you Nintendo for the review code. Now this game was honestly very fun. At the beginning I was a little bit like, what is going on here? I'm not really feeling it, but I was pleasantly surprised. Right off the bat, I would like to say it was very refreshing getting to play as Princess Zelda for the first time. It was quite a treat, and I've been wanting to play as Princess Zelda since like the beginning, and the news that Zelda was getting her own game was so widespread that even my mom was saying, oh my god, they're making a Zelda game with Zelda. You know a game is pretty hyped when even your normie parents know about it. So it was a long time coming, and I'm glad that Nintendo took the initiative of changing it up a bit. Now the only downside is Zelda acts a lot like Link. I wish they put a little bit more time on displaying her personality, and I feel like Nintendo didn't really distinguish the two as much, except for like, you know, longer hair. But hey, maybe it was a little bit too much to ask, but I would have loved for her to have a little bit more of her personality and zing into it. That would have been cool. Now for the look of this game, it follows in line with Link's Awakening with the whole cutesy 2D art style going on, and it really plays like your typical 2D Zelda game. But this one's a bit different. Instead of swinging away with the sword, you instead use Zelda's magic to help her get by. This is a big mechanic that really changes it up from previous Zelda games. So essentially you use this power from your buddy Tree, which is the little fairy that's following you. So he gives you a rod that lets you copy different enemies and items. So Zelda could summon a copy of that item and you could use it to progress your way into the game. The choice is really yours on how you use these echoes and what you use them for. Some you do need for different puzzles, but this game is very open-ended where you can solve a lot of things in a variety of ways. Now this game mechanic was a bit controversial, mainly because a lot of people didn't want to just use different echoes and different monsters, and they want to enjoy the game just using the traditional 2D sword stuff that Link usually has. So for that, Nintendo did add a feature in the game which lets you use Link's sword powers, but only for a limited time. And not gonna lie, towards the end of the game I used it a lot because the echoes could be a little bit unpredictable. And in total, there's about 100 echoes that you could have in your inventory. Speaking of the inventory, there is an inherent flaw in the game where the organization of all these echoes is a bit too much. It's annoying to scroll through the menu just to find one specific echo. One thing they could have done is to hotkey some of the echoes so you could easily access it. But besides that annoying gimmick, the gameplay was really enjoyable. I really didn't have a problem with it. I feel like it was fun and it fits Zelda really well. Now, is this my favorite Zelda game of all time? No, unfortunately not, but it's still really great in my opinion, and I did enjoy it. And the story is a strong point. Now, oddly enough, this game does provide you with a lot of lore, which I wasn't expecting. But overall, it was a solid Zelda game, and I can't wait for the future of Zelda games. Always drink your water. Now let's continue to the next game, which is honestly the highlight of it all, and that is for Metaphor Refantazio. And yes, it is indeed my favorite game of 2024. Now this game is a Goliath. It's your traditional Atlas style game, which could run you like 90 to 100 hours. So that's probably why my list was so small, because this game took a lot of my time. In my opinion, Atlas really struck gold with this new IP. At first, I was a bit nervous about it because they could have fumbled the bag really hard, but they didn't, so yay. And not to mention, there's a lot of new IPs that are sorely lacking, so this game was welcomed by me and many others. And side note, but I hope that other companies really think about starting new IPs. I love remakes and remasters, but there comes a point where people want something new. I love how Metaphor Refantazio is created so uniquely and lovingly. It has the traditional Atlas UI style, but different from Persona and SMT. One of the most compelling aspects of Metaphor Refantazio is its richly developed characters. The characters, whether major or minor, have such an interesting backstory that makes them feel believable and alive, even in this world of fantasy by nature. Side note, for a new IP with its first game, the world building is very rich and detailed, and it fleshes out so many different lore about the world that you just want to sit and read it all, which I did, which kept me really invested and eager to want to learn more. Now, like every Atlas game, it does try to focus on one specific theme. Metaphor Refantazio is a politics-focused game, and while the game is built in a fantasy world and the politics are for that world, there's also a clear through line from the game to our world. So you, the protagonist, is on a mission to help save the prince because he's been under a curse. In the beginning, it's just you and your fairy friend, but throughout the journey, you do meet other players along the way to join your party. Alrighty, I'm not going to tell too much of the story because it might get a little bit spoily, so I'm just going to move on to the gameplay. The gameplay is awesome. This game does offer something new and unique, and this takes form as the archetype system. Now, the archetype system is the first attempt by Atlas to do a job class system, and I feel honestly it was really good and fleshed out. All the classes feel like they're somewhat necessary, so you really want to try out all of them. My favorite was the mage. The mage is so OP, especially in the beginning. It's one of the best classes. Now, depending on your character, each class could be a better benefit than others. I was kind of overwhelmed in the beginning, trying to think of which class is best for who. A lot of thought went into this gameplay, and I could tell. Now, the battling itself is okay. You essentially have 4 party members, and each of your party members has a turn. Now, you can manipulate the turns a bit by hitting an enemy in their weakness or getting a critical, and then that gives you an extra turn. But the enemies could do the same, and towards the end of the game, they really turn up that feature. Holy cow. Now, there are cons to this game that I want to discuss. Number 1 is mainly the pacing of the game. I feel like the first half was kind of dull. That's why I didn't really get into it. But the middle is really good, and then kind of dull, and then really good. I don't know, it was just all over the place where it didn't feel as cohesive as it should, especially in the end. I kind of was feeling, let's get this over with already, but they kept trying to drag it out for some reason. And the second point is the story kind of took a weird turn where you feel like a lot of things need to be explained, but they weren't. But overall, words cannot explain how great this game was. From the design, characters, story, gameplay, it was all top notch, and that's why it's my favorite game of 2024. Atlas really does have a good IP on their hands, and I hope they explore it more with sequels. And who thinks they're gonna make a remastered version for the Switch too? Like a definitive version. Mayhaps they will. But anyways, awesome game. Awesome. Now, the next game on my list is Fairy Tail 2. This was given to me via code by Koei Tecmo, so thank you, Koei Tecmo. So honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with this game. Now, if you guys don't know, I used to be a big fan of Fairy Tail. I watched it all the time growing up, but towards the end of the anime, I didn't really like it. But then I played the first Fairy Tail game, and I actually really did enjoy it. So when they announced Fairy Tail 2, I was like, I'll play. Now, as for the story, the game takes place during the final chapters of Fairy Tail, so I suggest not jumping into the game until you're caught up with the anime or manga, or if you just want to play a game, watch an explainer on YouTube. Because while yes, you can play the game on its own, you will still be a little bit lost and you won't know a lot of these characters or plot lines. And to help you, if you forgot some of the plot points or you're not familiar with it, there is an encyclopedia with all the different things you might need to know. So from a more story perspective, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I had a lot of the cringy moments that I remember, but you know, there was a lot of good moments too. But the thing I enjoyed the most was the gameplay. The gameplay is really addicting. The gameplay in Fairy Tail 2 strikes a balance between traditional turn-based mechanics and action-oriented mechanics. And if you played any Atelier Ryza game, it's very familiar. Though I will say, some people might find the combat a little bit repetitive. I myself really didn't feel that way though. So while the game is flashy and satisfying, it does lack in complexity compared to other games. Despite this, I still enjoy the flashy gameplay. That is like my weakness. Now, I did find some problems with the game. Number one being there was a lot of glitches, especially after the main story. There was actually a glitch where I fell through the floor and it just happened in loop. I had to restart the game and it fixed it, but there was a lot of glitches. Overall, this game was really fun, and it was a perfect way to kind of get me out of that slump from Metaphor Refantazio. So it really scratched that itch for me and I enjoyed it. Alrighty, last game on the list is Mario & Luigi Brothership. Now overall, I did love the game, but I felt like it could have been a bit more. Now, it's not the worst Mario & Luigi game. That honor goes to Paper Jam, and honestly, I think it was a good start. And while it was a bit rough on the edges, there are some really redeeming qualities about Mario & Luigi Brothership, and I feel like this game is a good step in the right direction. The first thing though, the pacing in this game is really slow. Like, it takes a while for the game to really ramp up. I mean, heck, you don't even gain a bro move until around the third island. I found myself somewhat bored in the beginning, but after about the third lighthouse, things start to pick up. And another con is the bro moves themselves. They were a bit mid, and the ones that you get towards the end are just so annoying to perform, and a lot of them just felt like wasted potential. And lastly, one of my most hated features in the game is the map and the way you go around in the world. It is so annoying. I don't know who okayed that, but it wasn't okay. So basically, you just have to pinpoint where you want to go and you have to sail through it. Now, you could make the ship faster, but it's still really tiresome. And there is a thing that you get around the end of the game where it makes traveling way more easier, but I feel like that feature should have been in the beginning. So I really didn't like how they handled that. But now that all of the negatives are out of the way, I would like to say that Mario & Luigi was a refreshing return to the series. One of the standout features that I loved is the unique setting. I love tropical style games, so Mario & Luigi really fits that bill because you're just traveling through the ocean and connecting different islands. I like the whole electricity theme that they had going around, from the people looking like plugs. Pretty cool. And visually, this is the first time we get a fully 3D Mario & Luigi game, and it's actually a treat for the eyes. Animations are clean, the world is vibrant and colorful, capturing the charm of a Mario & Luigi game. Now, there is a little bit of a problem in the game, and that's mainly the performance. The game does dip a lot in the frame rate, so that sucks. So hopefully it'll run better on the Switch too. And while the game is definitely not a 5 out of 10, I would give it more of a 7 out of 10. There was a lot of flaws, but there were a lot of pros to kind of outweigh it a bit. Now for the games that I'm currently playing. So I'm currently playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. I love the new protagonist, Ichiban. He's just too pure for this world, and the story is really gripping me. Another game I'm currently playing is Tales of Grace's F Remastered. I am loving the game so far. Really enjoying it, especially the art style. Kind of reminds me of an Atelier-esque art style, and it really gives me that PS3 era kind of vibe. Now for the games that I want to play. The first one is Monster Hunter Wilds. I cannot wait till that game drops. I cannot wait. Next one is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now this one is so exciting because it's the first time I've ever played Xenoblade Chronicles X. I know it did come out for the Wii U, but I didn't really play it on the Wii U. I'm not sure why, but I never got the game. So I'm excited to play it on the Switch. Now for my most anticipated game is Atelier Yumia. I know I had to wait like a few months, but right now. So that is it for today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what games you've played or currently playing in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. Please hit that like button, would appreciate it, and subscribe if you're loving all the JRPG content. You can find me on my socials in the description down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.